Now then guys, you asked for it, so you got it. Well, one of you asked for it and I was going to do it anyway really. Kel-Tec CMR-30, sometimes known as the poor man's MP7. I'm going to go over this UK import version of the gun, talk about what makes it good, maybe what makes it not so good. Just kind of generally put it through its paces and hopefully give you guys a bit more of an idea about it. So grab yourself a cup of tea, let's get on with it. So what is the CMR-30? Well, it's a compact, lightweight little carbine. It's got some very unique, interesting features with it. It's a semi-automatic platform running on a direct blowback action, and it's chambered for 22 Magnum rimfire. If you want to know more about that caliber, I'll put a link to a video up there that'll tell you everything you need to know about WMR. So just a little bit of background on these guns. They're made by a company called Kel-Tec in the US of A in Florida. This one right here was imported into the UK by Calibre Innovations. Now, if you know anything about Kel-Tec, you know that they're kind of famous, or infamous maybe, for their kind of unorthodox firearm designs. You've got everything from like the Sub 2000, which is a folding PCC, the KSG shotgun. That's a bullpup shotgun with 2 magazine tubes that are selectable, so you can select which one you feed from. You've got lots of cool little bullpups, the RDB I think it's called, and a few others. So lots of Kel-Tec's guns have some quite unique designs, should we say, and quirky features. It's kind of become their signature move in the industry. But they're definitely very innovative. They don't always hit the spot, but you can definitely tell that some of the out-of-the-box thinking went into designing the CMR-30. So the most notable feature and probably the biggest selling point with these guns is actually the magazines. So we'll go over these first. Now, these little guys hold 30 rounds of Magnum rimfire in there, in what is essentially a pistol magazine. So they achieve that capacity in these magazines by double stacking the cartridges. Now, any of you who shoot any rimmed cartridge, whether it's a centerfire, rimfire, or hell, even a shotgun with a box-fed shotgun, know you cannot double stack rimmed cartridges, because as they start to feed, they'll jump over each other in the magazine, the rims will get jammed up. It binds up in the magazine and stops feeding into your gun. It's something called rim lock, which sounds like a horrendous venereal disease. So the way Kel-Tec got a double stacked magazine to function is by putting a small dividing lip down the back of the magazine here, which splits the 2 stacks kind of into 2 single stacks, I guess, at the back of the cartridge near the rim. The noses of the rounds are still together. You might be able to see it's a very triangular shaped magazine when you look at it from the top. That's probably better there, look. So yeah, the noses sit together, but the actual rims sit apart. And as they feed up, as they get near the top, there's a little chamfer on the magazine which just pushes that top round forward, stops any kind of rim lock and helps it feed into the gun. So yeah, very simple but very clever design for sure. So that feed system is patented by Kel-Tec, and it's used in a couple of other gun designs as well. The PMR-30, which is what the CMR-30 is based on, uses these exact same magazines. They're interchangeable between the 2 platforms. But also things like, I think it's the CP-33, a little 22 rimfire pistol. That also uses a little double stack magazine as well. So to give you an idea of how small these magazines actually are, that's a Smith & Wesson M&P magazine, 1522. That holds 25 rounds of 22 long rifle, which is kind of smaller in every single way than a 22 Magnum. So you can see the size difference there, and that holds 5 rounds more. So it's definitely an impressive little unit. That's what she said. The magazines are made of a glass reinforced plastic, injection molded. You can see some of the molding marks on there. But overall, the quality of them is pretty good. They're very thin walled, but there's no sharp edges on them. I've got 5 magazines and they're all uniform. They all fit the same. They all feed very well. So there is a set way to load these magazines. You have to push the rounds in from the top, push them to the back, and then every 5 rounds or so you have to tap the magazine down on a hard surface and just make sure those rounds are properly seated. That's the way Kel-Tec tells you to do it. That's the way I've been doing it, and I've never had any misfeeding issues or anything like that that have been down to the magazine. I will say, once you get past about 20 rounds, they do become quite hard to load. You've got to really put a lot of force onto them rimfire cartridges, so much so that you'll actually start to dent and crease the case walls of them. Now, Kel-Tec say that's just kind of par for the course. You know, there's under a lot of pressure in these magazines. They do bed in after a little while. I left mine loaded for a little while in the safe, and it's kind of softened them springs up a bit. And just with general use, they will kind of bed in a little bit. But if you're going to be doing a lot of shooting with these, I'd probably recommend getting a speed loader just to save your thumbs, because, like I say, it is quite hard on them putting these in. I'm not being a little whiny bitch, but after you've loaded up 5 of these magazines to 30 round capacity, your thumb will be absolutely fucked. So let's move on and actually talk about the gun, go over its specs and features. So these are the specs of the UK version. They will be slightly different to what's on Kel-Tec's website, certainly in terms of length, because you've got this fucking great whacking thing they've had to stick on the end of it to make it UK legal. Look at that muzzle brake. Oh, it's about 3.5 inches long. That's like E.T.'s finger on the end of the barrel of phone home. But yeah, it does have a tiny little bit of weight as well. It's permanently attached to the end of the gun, so it says 1/2x28 UNEF muzzle thread there. That's about as much use as a cock flavoured lollipop with that thing on the end there. But yeah, apart from that, all the specs should be pretty much the same. The only thing you might see discrepancy with is the twist rate there. It's a 1 in 14 twist rate, but there's some sites out there, and the user manual as well says 1 in 16. Now, I think that's because they had issues with the twist rate early on. I know in the PMR-30, the pistol version of this, I think they've gone to the 3rd different twist rate now. They keep on tightening it up and tightening it up because of some keyholing issues and things. But yeah, these are 1 in 14. Right then, let's go with the gun. So starting at the back, the stock, something I was actually really pleasantly surprised with this gun. If you've ever shot a gun that's got like a wireframe stock, a collapsible stock, or underfold, or whatever it is, this type of skeletonized stock, you'll know that they're usually really uncomfortable. They're either sharp or jagged, or they're flimsy. You don't get a good cheek weld with them. Don't place your optics at the right height, all that type of stuff. But the Kel-Tec have done a really good job with this one. It's got a nice, that's the full length of pull there. So got a nice length of pull, 14 inches at its fully extended position. You've got 5 other positions, all at about 20mm increments, right down to fully collapsed. Yeah, it's, like I say, it's very comfortable. No snagging points on there, so if you can grow a beard, unlike me, it won't pull your beard hairs out when you're shooting it. It's a little bit rattly, but at the all. But not when you've got it in your shoulder. It's firm, it's not going anywhere, and there's no rattle in your shoulder either. Something else, which is probably the best feature of it, I think, is they've really thought about the height of this stock in terms of in relation to the rail. Which, so when you get a cheek weld on the gun, it actually puts your optics and your rail at the same height as it does on an AR-15, which is a really good thing. So we'll move on from the stock to the lower receiver. It's again a glass reinforced polymer of some kind. I'm not sure the blend, but you're not really fucking bothered, are you lads? It's plastic. You've got 2 sling loops, one either side of the receiver there and there. Onto your safety. It's a nice tactile safety, if you can hear that, look. So it's got nice positive detents with it. That white marker's not there, that's just a black marker when you get the gun. I've just put some Tipp-Ex on there so I can more easily see it. But yeah, the only thing I would say with it is it's probably not the easiest to take on and off. I prefer it if it was a little bit bigger, to be honest, just so it's easy to sweep on and off with your thumb. It's not a massive issue, you just got to kind of put a bit more conscious thought into it, that you need to really kind of roll your thumb into it. I see why they've done it though, because this gun was kind of designed as a bit of a backpacking gun, I think, so the last thing you'd want is your safety to sweep off in your bag. So next up on the gun, you've got your bolt release, which is right here. Now this is taken straight off the PMR-30 pistol. So drop that, drop the bolt. Now I will say that the bolt release takes a lot of force, and I'll show you the bolt drop in there. The bolt release does take quite a bit of force. You're not going to slide that off by accident. Yeah, you see that one? I've got to really really kind of drive my thumb into that, which I think is a good thing, because the last thing you want is your bolt dropping when you're halfway through a reload. But yeah, that's taken straight off the PMR-30. So next up, we've got the trigger on the gun. It's not bad at all by any means, not for this type of gun. It's a single stage. You've got, I'll show you there, look, you've got quite a bit of slack in it there, like a couple of mil, probably 2 mil of slack. Then you hit that wall, and you've got a tiny little bit of creep. Bang. Nice little let off, and to reset. So you've got about 4 or 5 mil of travel to the reset. It's not the best reset, it's a little bit mushy. But the brake is nice and clean for it, to be fair. Kel-Tec also advertised this trigger as being a 5 pound pull weight. I would say it's probably closer to about 3.5, maybe 4. Let's dry fire that. So again, trigger wise, you've got a couple of mil of take up, hit that wall, tiny bit of creep, bang, nice little brake there. So, and reset is probably a good 5 mil there, and not the best reset for sure, but certainly not a bad trigger. For this type of gun, I would not consider changing it out really. I won't waste my money. It's perfectly adequate. If you want to shoot groups and stuff, it does the job nicely. So on to another little quirky feature of the gun, which is the magazine release. It's a heel release down there at the bottom, right on the heel. Which I kind of get why they did it. I mean, if you, in terms of a rifle, you know, if you're shooting something like an AR-15, you've got you use your trigger finger to drop the magazine, bang another one in. If you're shooting a pistol, you'd be your thumb right here. I mean, this is kind of a cross between a rifle and a pistol. But I think the reason they did it is because of this. Look, your magazines just do not drop free. It's a polymer magazine going into a polymer grip. They're quite tight tolerances. You know, even if this magazine's free, it's got such a good friction fit, it's never coming out of there. So even if you were just to drop it, you'd end up having to strip it out anyway. So it kind of makes sense to put the heel release there. It does make reloads a little bit slower because your support hand has to come down and mess around with the gun again, rip that magazine out. But it's not like this was designed as like a competition gun, speed shooting gun, is it? So the heel release is a feature that some people like to complain about on these guns. They say that when you're bringing your hand into the gun, you can have a tendency to drop those magazines when you hit the heel release. Now, to be honest, I've never experienced that. I've got about 1,500 rounds on this gun so far. I've never experienced an accidental mag drop once, and I've got these fucking enormous dick beaters right here. And no matter which way I come into that grip or how I grip it, you know, which hand I use, I'm nowhere near that heel release there at all. To be honest, I don't know what the fuck these guys are playing at. You have to be coming in like that guy off Scary Movie going, I take my strong hand, you know, to even try and drop it. But but it's something to be aware of for sure. So just be aware with that heel release, it doesn't make for the fastest magazine changes. So normally on a rifle, you drop the magazine, your support hand just bangs another one in, and off you go. On this one, that support hand's going to have to come down, strip the magazine out, and then bang another one in, and off you go. It's another step. And again, same on a pistol, you know, you're just dropping a magazine and banging another one in. There is that other motion on here where you've got to bring your support hand down to the grip, pull that magazine out. So just something to be aware with. So while we're on the topic of faster reloads, something else to bear in mind is that pistol grip. There is no flaring on it whatsoever. There's no provision for any flaring either. It's very, very thin, not much material there, and that magazine does fit very, very snugly inside of it as well. So yeah, you'll probably see in that footage, I often hang up and kind of get the magazine jammed on the side of the mag well, things like that. So it's definitely not the best gun if you're going to try to go fast with it. Now, just forward of the trigger guard, you've got your stock adjustment latch. Now, full disclosure, I had to Google what that was called because I had no fucking clue. But you can see there, it's fully ambidextrous, and yeah, it's nice and easy to operate. You just kind of push it down, then you can drive the stock in or out. Not much else to say about that really, quite well done. So let's keep on rolling onto the upper receiver. It is 6061 T6 hard anodized aluminium. You've got pick rail along the top full length and underside. The pick rails are removable if you're that way inclined. I know some of you are weird out there. You've got ambidextrous charging handles on both sides of the gun. They're connected together. They are non-reciprocating. They're just sitting a little detent clip at the front there. What else? You've got Magpul Embus sights on there, the polymer sights. They're kind of a standard thing with a lot of guns now. They're perfectly functional, little flip up ones. I'll probably end up taking them off, but whatever, you don't care about that. So let's talk about the overall build quality of the gun. It's decent, but certainly not the best. You can see where they've kind of had to meet a price point when they're making the gun. Things like the anodizing on the upper receiver and the pick rails. I mean, look how it's very, very shiny, you know. It just kind of makes the gun feel cheaper. Just some of the controls you can feel where they've used like the charging handles. They're pretty cheap, you know what I mean? You almost feel a bit airsofty on it. You've got that extremely thin polymer on the magwell there. I think they could have done to beef that up really. I know the grip's quite big as it is, but it's very thin, you know. I can squeeze that with my fingers. In fact, my rifle when it arrived had a tiny little crack in one side of the and pistol grip, and some fucking idiot managed to stand on the other side of it when he was out shooting and break that as well. But it's still functional. Now, in terms of handling, the gun kind of excels. I think it's extremely lightweight. You know, you're under 4 pounds unloaded. It's spit nose heavy, obviously, with that big long barrel coming out, especially with that great fucking whacking compensator on the end. But it's not heavy by any means. You know, it's very, very pointable. It fits nicely in the shoulder. You've got good sight alignment from your cheek weld. So from a shooter's standpoint, it's certainly a lively gun, a lot more lively than a AR-15 and WMR, just because it's so lightweight. You do kind of feel that kick a little bit more. So it's a very fun gun to shoot for sure. Balances well in the hand, you know, it's very pointable, very quick on target. You've got, like I said, a really decent length of pull there. You know, I'm 6'5", and that's bang on for me, is that 14 inches, great stuff. So we'll talk about reliability. I think the gun's been pretty reliable for me. Everything 40 grain and above I've not had any problem with. Misfeeds and such as that. It doesn't like 30 grain stuff. It will kind of short stroke on the 30 grain rounds for about 80% of the time, especially if that magazine's full. You know, you've got a lot of spring pressure pushing up on that bolt. But yeah, 40 grain and up, it's ran everything I've thrown at it really well. It did have a couple of hiccups in the first kind of 100 or so rounds, I think, just when it was bedding in. So yeah, reliability wise, it's been really good for me. Let's say 1 or 2 hiccups right in the beginning, but that soon ironed itself out as the gun kind of bedded in. Now it seems to run like a sewing machine. As long as you load them mags properly, I'm certainly not running into any issues with mine. The only issue I did have with it actually was quite early on as well, in the first few 100 rounds. I went to drop the bolt chamber around and I had an out of battery discharge. The round pickup on the underside of the bolt actually set the round off without it even being near the chamber. It just boom, straight out the magazine, blew it to bits. But I've only had the one of them. Very odd, never had it again. Like I say, this is running really well at the minute. Seems to shoot everything 40 grain and up. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it in terms of reliability. People say these guns as well, they'll get sluggish when they get dirty. I've never experienced it myself, but I do clean it fairly regularly. So it's a WMR, a direct blowback WMR. It's going to be a dirty gun for sure, no doubt about that. Maintenance wise, the gun is fully user strippable. You can take everything off of it, the barrel out of it, the full lot, not a problem. Not that you probably ever really need to do that, setting off for cleaning. So for most of your cleaning needs, you're just going to take this one pin out here, split the 2 receivers in half, take all the bolt out and give it a good clean out. That should do you for probably 99% of your maintenance. Now, accuracy wise, I've only ever taken the gun out to 100 yards with a magnified optic once, just to see what it could do. I got kind of 2 to 3 inch groups with it, which isn't the best, but it's not bad for a WMR really. I know my Northwest Custom Parts 22 Magnum AR, that gets inch groups with only 2 types of ammo. That's the 30 grain and some CCI game point. That runs really well. Everything else is kind of 2 to 3, sometimes even bigger groups with that. So yeah, I was more than happy with the Kel-Tec. I don't really think it's a platform that lends itself to crazy accuracy, you know, despite what Kel-Tec will say. They'll say how rigid a platform it is and the lock time's really short, you know, super accurate platform. But from what I've seen other people shooting online, they're looking kind of, you know, 2 to 3 inch groups at 100 yards as well. I think I've only seen one review where the guy's getting like 1.5 inch groups at 100 yards. So it could well be doable, but I don't think the platform, the design of it kind of lends itself to like accurate shooting over distance really. I think it's much more of a kind of under 100 yards kind of close in gun. So overall for the UK market, it's a bit of an odd one. This, it's not like a super fast competition gun. Where you can get them speed reloads going. It's certainly not like a super accurate platform. I'm saying super a lot. Certainly not like an accurate platform, to shoot over distance with. If you were going to be hunting with it, yeah, it's absolutely doable. But again, I think there's better platforms out there for that, and as well, you're not going to be able to suppress it with this fucking great whacking thing on the end here. So yeah, I think it's just kind of a bit of fun, really, a bit of a range toy more than anything. Or if you like something different, I mean, that's kind of why I bought it. I just like it. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's just cool. So cost and availability. This gun was brought in to the UK last year by Calibre Innovations. I purchased it directly from them. I think it was around about 1,200 quid I paid for the gun. Everyone in America's laughing right now because these cost $630, I believe, is the list price on them in America. But, it is what it is. Calibre Innovations are the only ones bringing them into the UK. It was a very small run, I think. A dozen or so of them. So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to be bringing them in again. It's something you'll have to speak to them about, or if anyone else is going to be doing it, I have no idea. So, yeah, definitely quite a rarity for sure. And something else to consider as well is customer support. If you do have any issues with a gun, chances are I don't think you get much support from Kel-Tec with you being in the UK. So you'd have to go back to the importers and kind of deal with them. And again, what kind of service they could offer with you, I'm not sure. It's something you'll have to find out for yourselves. But it's something worth considering. So if you are lucky enough to get your hands on one of these guns and you're thinking about kind of tricking it out with loads of aftermarket accessories and stuff, you're going to be shit out of luck because there's not really anybody making anything for them. Tandem Cross makes a few little bits and pieces. They make these little extended magazine base plates, like a little mag pull on there. They are definitely worthwhile, I think, the way you have to strip these magazines out and bang them back in. So that's definitely worthwhile. But apart from that, I think as Tandem Cross, I think they make like a safety with a little bit more of a shelf on it, and they do an adjustable trigger shoe, I believe, but not much else at all knocking about for these. So yeah, suck it. And with it being in this form UK legal with this big compensator on the end there, you're pretty limited to what you can do with a gun. Now, I have actually got some custom work planned for the gun that I'm hopefully going to complete in the next couple of months. It should drastically change this gun in terms of both shootability and looks and everything like that. So we'll see how we get on with that. Hopefully, next time you see me with this, it'll look completely different. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll definitely keep you posted on the channel about that. So guys, that just about wraps up the overview of the UK spec CMR-30 for you. If there's anything you want to know more of, anything you think I've missed or anything like that, just let us know in the comments below. I'll do my best to try and help you out. If you've enjoyed the video or at least found it informative, go ahead and like it. Subscribe to the channel if you like this type of thing. I've got a few more bits and pieces coming up in the future I think you might find interesting. And yeah, I think that's about it, guys. So thanks for watching. Sometimes known as the fucked it already. So Kel-Tec, did it again. So Kel-Tec, fuck me dead twice in a row. Come on. 3 strikes and you're out. So, I can't even say it. It's about 3.5 inches long. It's fucking disgusting. Yeah, it's just cool. It's fucking cool, man. Pew pew pew, it's all like pew pew pew. Fucking dickhead.